This is the Pope finally is making a they call it a historical apology for the abuses done to the Indigenous people of Canada. This article is by Nicole Winfield. This is something that we've been following, I think, since last summer when we found all the unmarked graves in like the Catholic schools over in Canada, full of the Indigenous people that were abused in these schools that they were forced to go to, and now the Pope after it's been like outed into the press has decided that he's going to make an apology for it. And despite the fact that I take it cynically, but that's just my nature, they seem to take it in Canada with a little bit more heart, and they felt like the apology was earned. He mentions that it was a genocide of their culture, and it's acknowledging the horrible things that had happened under the Catholic reign. But is it enough? To me, this doesn't this yeah, it's a first step. I and you every horrible thing, if you're gonna fix it, you gotta have that first step to fix it. But I just know the track record on the Catholic Church, and once it stops being something that's good for the press, and they've gotten the word out that they're doing a good thing, it kind of seems to fall away from the newspapers, and I don't see like real progress happening. But that's just me. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, this I kind of I don't want to call you cynical, but I share that cynicism. But so I was in a conversation the other day with somebody, and I brought up the abuse in the Catholic Church, and they kind of pushed back on me a little bit and asked me why I'd done that. And this is very simple. It's that I cannot think of another organization in the world which is so prominent and so large, which has abused so many children in one way or another. And that this is the counterbalance to this apology that we've got to look at. You know, I commend the Pope for making this apology. I do kind of think it's a bit of an half-assed attempt to apologize, but he's gone there and he's done it. Um, it's better than his 2009 effort with First Nation people, where he expressed sorrow to and for the anguish that some members of the Catholic Church had caused.
Yeah,
And
that
this
that
is
was Benedict that did that in 2009.
right. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, this is a step further, and certainly the First Nation people who were there and at this apology and met the Pope in person
Well,
were
they're meeting him in person. Like he's coming over to Canada, I think in July, to apologize in person to the families that were affected by this, and that's good. In person is a big deal, but and I'm not going to write him off right off the bat and say that he's not going to do what needs to be done. But even these people that were like crying over this apology because it meant so much to them, there was 150,000 Native children that were forced to attend these schools, and the abuse was rampant. There were it's just beatings for speaking their native language. This was them trying to wipe out the native culture, and an apology isn't enough. I'm not sure how they make up for this because it seems to be one of those acts that's completely unforgivable. But definitely, more than apologies need to be done.
yeah
well, and I didn't even care for the initial apology because I want to quote from Pope Francis himself saying, "For the deplorable conduct of those members of the Catholic Church, I ask for forgiveness of the Lord." Okay? Now let's think about that. He's not asking for forgiveness of the people, of the victims, of those who had suffered from, decades and decades and decades of abuse. He is not asking for the forgiveness for the hundreds of years of abuses and violence and deaths, which is a lot to apologize for. I understand, but it's like you're asking for forgiveness from your Lord, which we won't go into the whole. I mean, okay, yeah, we don't believe in them. That's neither here or there. But you're asking for the forgiveness from that first, so that you can have your conscience cleared. This is such, it's so great that he's asking for forgiveness for himself. For himself. Yeah, the other issue I had was with a Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, where it's like, this apology would not have happened, this is his words, without the long advocacy of survivors who journeyed to tell the truth directly to the institutions responsible and who recounted and relived their painful memories. And to that, I disagree. I absolutely disagree. I feel that this apology wouldn't have happened, as you stated earlier, Josh, if the mass graves were not discovered. Nothing would have happened. It's only because it became a thing that they went forward with it.
No disagreement there, because if that wasn't found, I would appreciate this apology. Not that I need to appreciate it. They need to appreciate it up there. But I would appreciate this apology so much more if it had come from the Catholic Church before this had been a big story in the press. Like when those graves were found, it was all over the internet. I found it on Reddit. I found it on Facebook. It was on Twitter. There was no place that you can go where you were not hearing about this story. This is something that they absolutely had to address. Just like when they had to address the child abuse that happened within their church, they addressed it, and then the follow up on it has not been great though, because they released like names after the fact when there could be prosecutions and stuff like that. That's what I'm worried about is going to happen here. Is they're sly. They know how to like get around actual meaningful steps forward to fix things. They know how to save face. The Catholic Church is amazing at it, especially because they already have the backing of so many people on them, because the Catholic Church is a work for good. Like you can do horrible things, and everybody's already just waiting to forgive you. The Canadian people, the Indigenous people, they might not be in as forgiving of a mood if more steps aren't taken. But I think the press is more than willing to turn around and go and give the Pope a clap on the back for doing whatever little step he does. Because now the churches, they've shown how sorry they are about this, and they put it up for the whole world to see. And I want more meaningful things to happen, and I'm hoping this Pope's different, because I know, like, from the very early days of nonprofits, this show has had to rip apart the supposed good things that the Pope has done or said, and it's always been just like the tiniest bit of way to save face and like make it seem like they're a better church for today than they actually are.
Yeah, the church has got a great record of trying on damage limitation, and the fact is, I think they think they're untouchable. The Catholic numbers
because they
growing.
are. That's because they are.
Catholic numbers are growing worldwide, and they were certainly from the last lot of information I looked at, and there seems to be no recompense, even financially. The money that's been paid out in damages to the First Nation peoples for over this incident or these incidents, because it's been a number of cases, not just one school. This has happened all over Canada, and most of the money has come from the Canadian government. It's the Canadian government that are paying the damages, with a small contribution from the Catholic Church. Why? These were Catholic schools. This is Catholic abuse. Why isn't the Catholic Church paying the damages? Why is the Canadian government paying the damages?
Well, we don't know exactly what the steps they're going to do after this apology. Everybody that was interviewed basically said this is a meaningful step to them, but they always made sure to say it's a good first step. They never said like, you're forgiven, thank you so much, Pope, you are the best, Popey. But they instead they're expecting more from them. Whether or not the Catholic Church gives them more is a whole other story. So like you can't like write them off for what Canada's done, what the Catholic Church has done yet. You can if you don't see any progress happening, and I hope people are keeping a watch on this story to hold them accountable if they're not holding their end of the bargain here.
Absolutely, and that really is what's important. Is it's not what you say now or what you apologize for thousands of years of worth of whatever. It's also what you do next. And we've seen it time and time again where whether it's moving bishops around that get abuse or get abuse allegations in one area, and it's like you go over here now. Or if we see it time and time again. And yeah, what you say, it sounds great. Oh, atheists can go to heaven, like we give a shit about that.
Well, you know what the thing was with that. They had to eventually accept the Lord in order to go into heaven. So like we were
Yeah, so it's still
potentially able to go to
stipulations.
heaven. Yeah, again, that's what I'm saying. I was saying earlier. The Catholic Church is slippery on this kind of a thing. They know they know a good soundbite when they hear it, and because of that article that you were talking about, or that time when the Pope said that, I remember so many people in atheist groups just like jumping for joy. Oh, this is always one of the good ones. He's not condemning us to hell, but he wasn't doing anything meaningful. He was just saying that atheists can go to heaven silently if they accept God. Like
Yeah,
so, like
big
you
ol'
can't.
asterisk.
Yeah, they're read the terms and conditions. This is not your iPhone. This is your eternal soul apparently, and you're still going to hell. All of us atheists apparently. So like, yeah, they're slippery, they're slick. The moving around of the abusers and the Catholic priests. I don't know how they're what slippery thing they can do for this issue here, but I know there's people talking about it. Well, I can't say I know. I because I'm not omnipotent. I can't even say the word. But I feel like there's somebody trying to find wiggle room in order to like get them the easiest way out of this, where they still come off looking good to most of the world.
And I want to have this. I would give this little reminder about how these mass graves were found, or even the time frame. But friend of the show, Nate Smith, his father went to one of these schools, and he got to see the abuses firsthand. So this isn't something that happened way back in the 1800s. This is something that is far more recent than we would like to than well, certainly they would like to admit.
According to the article, it was all the way back into the 1970s, and that's like that. My dad was alive back then, so like that's
Yep.
not that far back. That's only like one generation back for me. Uh, it's not ancient history, and then I feel like the Catholic Church had to have known about this for way longer than last summer. So yeah,
Absolutely.
this is new news.
L-
This is old news.
Let,
I mean,
lest Josh forget that I was alive back in the 1970s as well. I could have been, were I in Canada, easily been one of these children as well. It is very recent. It is very, it shouldn't be happening in this day and age. This isn't just a case of a child's stolen something and been reprimanded and the church has tried to cover it up. This is thousands of deaths, thousands of cases of abuse. And it's something that only just now, 40 years later, is starting to come to light and become a thing. Last year, where this which the case in this particular article, where the 215 graves were found, and they were only found through ground penetrating radar. This isn't something that the church has been open and honest about, and like trying to say, we made a mistake. We're sorry, guys. We accept this has gone off. Let's look at how we can build reparations moving forward. This is a case of, oh shit, we've been caught out. Let's try and make the best of it that we can.
Yeah, and they actually talked a little bit about the reparations themselves, and as Josh said earlier, uh, the Canadian government paid a majority of that. Now, did the Catholic Church pay a little bit of it? Yeah, sure, whatever. It wasn't nearly enough, and without any kind of plan to move forward. I don't care about step one. Step one is a photo op. Step one is a completely facetious thing. Tell me what step two is.
It's definitely a necessity, but it's not a necessity that we need to care about. And this is again, this was a cultural genocide. These are the white invaders taking on the indigenous people here and eradicating all their culture. And that's still, you can do all the reparations that you want. That culture is still suffering because of it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, this is a case of
America is not the only ones who treated their indigenous people like garbage.
Nope.
no. This is a case of I think two halves, because we've got to take into account what the indigenous people feel about this and how they're accepting this. And we've got to look at the larger picture of what the Catholic Church itself needs to do moving forward in a more general basis.
Absolutely. So let's get some final words in on this segment. Josh?
My final words are: I'm very cynical. I want to be hopeful for this. I want to see some good happen in the world. So I'm cynical, but I'm like trying to push against that cynical wall. And I want some good to happen for this. They're not going to, this is not something that's going to be fixed. This is never going to be like a, oh, we're square kind of deal. But I'm hopeful that they can make some meaningful changes and some meaningful impact with what happened over in Canada.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm very I'm quite straightforward, and I think what needs to happen in the Catholic Church in general, and you know, the Pope shouldn't be coming out making half-arsed apologies to people. If he wants to show a commitment, a real, true, and full commitment to ending abuse in the church, once an allegation has been proven against a member of the church, regardless of how high up the ladder they should be excommunicated immediately, and it's criminal damages sought against them by the church. Let the church stamp out its own shit, and then it wouldn't have to go forward trying to make excuses for and half-assed apologies for things that it's done. Sort out your own crap.
Yeah, don't protect your criminals, because they, once they see that they've got the protection of the cloth, they're just going to hold on to it forever. Yeah. Oh, so this this one's definitely a deep and tough conversation.